Anxiety is not your enemy. Say that again slowly. Anxiety is not your enemy. It is not a sign that something is broken inside you. It is not evidence that you are weak or unstable or less capable than the people around you who seem to be holding everything together without effort. It is not a character flaw dressed up as a feeling. It is not punishment for thinking too much or caring too deeply or wanting things to go well. It is your mind doing its job, just doing it in the wrong direction at the wrong time in response to the wrong thing. The part of you that was designed to protect you, the part that scans for danger and sounds alarms and prepares the body for what might be coming, that part is working exactly as it was built to work. It is just working too hard on threats that do not exist yet, on futures that have not arrived, on disasters that live entirely inside the space between your thoughts and have never once appeared in the actual present moment where your body is sitting right now. And the instinct, the completely human and completely understandable instinct, when that alarm starts sounding, is to fight it, to push it down, to argue with it, to tell yourself to just calm down, to remind yourself that you are being irrational, to compare your situation to people who have it worse and feel guilty for struggling, to white-knuckle your way through it and hope it passes before anyone notices. None of that works. And the Stoics knew exactly why. You cannot fight the mind with the mind. You cannot argue the anxious thought into silence. You cannot shame yourself into peace. Resistance amplifies. Whatever you resist with force tends to push back with equal force. And anxiety that is being fought becomes anxiety that digs in. It grows roots in the fighting. It finds its justification in the resistance. What you can do instead is redirect, gently, deliberately, without drama or force or the kind of fierce internal battle that exhausts you before the anxiety even has a chance to pass. One step at a time, from the imagined future back to the real present, from the storm back to the stillness, from the alarm back to the breath. 7 steps, 1 practice. And every single time the storm comes back, you begin again. Not because you failed, not because the steps did not work, because this is what practice means. Not a one-time solution, a direction you keep choosing, a path you keep walking, a skill you keep building until the distance between the storm and the stillness grows shorter and shorter, and the return becomes something that happens with less effort and more reliability every single time. Before we begin, type this in the comments and mean every word of it. I return to now. 1. The moment you name it, you are already stronger than it. There is something that happens the moment you put a name to what you are feeling. Something shifts, not dramatically, not in a way that makes the feeling disappear on the spot, but in a way that fundamentally changes your relationship to it. Before you name it, anxiety feels like everything. It feels like the whole room, like the walls pressing in, like a wave you are already underneath with no clear surface to swim toward, like there is no corner of your current experience that it has not already reached and claimed and made its own. And that totality, that sense of being completely surrounded by the feeling with no separation between you and it, is where most of the real suffering lives. Not the anxiety itself, the feeling that the anxiety is all there is, that it has taken over completely, that you are not a person experiencing anxiety, you are the anxiety. But the moment you name it, everything changes. A boundary appears. Suddenly there is you and there is the anxiety. And those are 2 separate things. You are the one doing the experiencing. The anxiety is the thing being experienced. And that gap, however small it feels at first, however tentative and fragile it seems in the middle of everything that is happening, is the most important thing in the room. Because you cannot redirect something you cannot see. You cannot interrupt a spiral you have not yet named. You cannot work with something you are still completely inside of. Naming it creates the distance needed to take the first step, and that naming does not require perfect words or clinical precision or the right psychological vocabulary. It requires only honesty. This is anxiety. My mind has left the present moment. That is the whole diagnosis. Not a catastrophe, not evidence of permanent damage, not a signal that the disaster your mind is projecting is definitely on its way. Just your mind doing what minds do when they are left without direction and without an anchor to the present. They wander. They travel forward into uncertainty. They begin building scenarios. They sound alarms in a body that is perfectly safe in response to threats that exist only in imagination. That is what is happening. Not more than that, not less than that, exactly that. The great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius returned to the practice of clear seeing throughout his entire life with a consistency that reveals how foundational it was to everything else he did and everything else he managed to endure. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Your estimate of it, not the thing itself. The anxiety you feel is not caused directly by the future event your mind is projecting toward. It is caused by the story your mind is telling about that event, the meaning it is assigning to the imagined outcome, the conclusion it has already reached about how things will go and how bad it will be and whether you will be capable of handling it when it arrives. That story, that conclusion, that estimate, it is happening inside your mind, which means it is not fixed, which means it is not final, which means it is accessible to something that is also inside your mind. Your attention, your awareness, your ability to observe what is happening rather than only to be swept along by it. But that awareness only becomes available the moment you stop and see what is actually happening clearly enough to name it.